And as we've done in the past, we're going to head back to Excel, which makes Tim Howard very excited. As you can tell, he ripped off his shirt. He's got a water bottle there because he's parched with excitement. We're ready to go. So let's test his theory the same way we've tested everything else. And we're back once again. So let's take a look here. And Tim Howard's idea is that the more block shots a team has, the more likely they are to win. We're not talking about saves here. I picked Tim Howard because, at least for U.S. fans, he's been sort of a mainstay of our team for so many years and been so important to the team. But really, we're talking about shots that get blocked by an outfield player before they even get to the goalkeeper. So if this doesn't go well, please, Tim Howard, don't send me mean internet words. I wouldn't appreciate it. I'm a big fan of yours. Eyeball test. Everything is always the same process. And we look here, and blocked shots, the numbers of the team at the bottom tend to be higher than the numbers of teams at the top. QPR, Burnley, Hull, Villa, Sunderland, all in the 3 to 4 range. Teams at the top, especially, again, your top 6, tend to be in the 2, low 3s. Not a good sign for the idea of blocked shots, and actually looks like it's going to go in the opposite direction. So let's test it. Equals Corel, B2 through B21, and you can see it highlights the array we're looking at here, so you can make sure you have it all, comma C2, C21, negative 0.77. So a few slides ago I mentioned that we're talking about the absolute value of 0 to 1. In this case, it can be negative 1 to 0. And what the negative numbers mean is that there's a negative correlation. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, what does that mean? Good question, Tim. Let me tell you. What this means is that blocked shots correlate negatively with the number of points. That is to say, the more blocked shots your team has, the fewer points you're going to earn. This idea makes sense, right? I mean, we think of it sort of, maybe your first instinct was, no, blocked shots are good. Teams who block a lot of shots should be doing better. But think about, let's go back to Pep Guardiola. How many shots does Barcelona block in a given game? Not very many, right? And why is that? They have most of the possession. They're not giving up a lot of shots in the first place. Therefore, they're not doing a lot of sort of last-ditch defending. Blocked shots are indicative of a bigger problem. And this is an example of correlation doesn't equal causation, which you may have heard 100,000 times in your life throughout your stats classes and on the internet and wherever. What this actually is showing you is that teams that have a lot of shots against them, that are giving up a lot of shots, probably block more shots, probably score fewer points. So we see a negative correlation. The more blocked shots a team has, the worse they are. It's a very strong correlation, almost as strong as possession. Giving up a lot of blocked shots is almost as highly correlated with winning as possession is, but going in the wrong direction. So you want to avoid giving up all these shots. Just for the sake of completeness, let's plot it one more time. Change that, delete that, change our axis title, 1 shots per 90, change this, total points, need more possession, fewer shots allowed. Make this, there we go. It's not a great title, but it'll work. And as you can see, especially if you look at these lines right here, there's a negative slope to this line. Let me change this actually before I go on. You can see it a little bit more starkly here. There's a negative slope to that line. Most of our other ones, possession, went this way, going up lower left to upper right. This one goes from upper left to lower right. That again shows the negative correlation, the negative relationship between these two. Don't need to use fancy words, but there's an inverse or negative relationship between blocked shots and points. The more shots you block, the fewer points you are likely to earn. So let's head back to PowerPoint and go over this, see the ggplot graph. And we're back one more time. Sorry, Tim, more blocked shots negatively correlate with points earned. Look how many of these dots are inside the 95% confidence interval. That shows a close dispersion here. Newcastle's an outlier, Chelsea's an outlier, and the rest of them are pretty close to this line. Again, the line's sloping downward, upper left to lower right. The more blocked shots you have, the fewer points you're going to earn, because blocked shots correlate with a bunch of other bad things if you're a soccer team. So I want to go over this one because we talked about positive correlation. Now this is negative correlation. Those two concepts become very important as we go into regression and some other things later, so I want to make sure we cover those. There's one more thing we want to do, so let's open the room for questions one more time. And oh good, we have a question from Joey Barton, a self-styled Twitter philosopher. He wants to know, how do yellow cards affect teams' chances of winning? Joey Barton led the league in yellow cards that year. QPR also was the worst team in terms of points earned. His discipline was a problem, but did it cost QPR a lot of points? I see here he's getting a red card. I actually Googled Joey Barton yellow card, and almost every image that came up was him getting a red card. So that's the one we're going with for this. Do yellow cards correlate with winning? Does discipline correlate with winning? We're going to make our last trip to Excel. Joey's very upset by that, but I want to show you one more demonstration. So here we go, back to the world of Excel. So I put together a spreadsheet of number of yellow cards earned per 90 minutes per team. Again, same procedure as last time. Here's the points earned in order. Here's the number of yellow cards per game. Eyeball test. It's hard to see a pattern here. Everybody's sort of in the same range. Swansea and Leicester were particularly well behaved. QPR was toward the top, but so was Man City, so was Stoke in the middle. Here's Sunderland, Spurs. Everybody over 2 seems to be relatively randomly distributed here, randomly dispersed. There's no sort of pattern there. Similarly, you've got Swansea upper mid-table here, Leicester lower mid-table. They're the lowest. In terms of points, there's not much to see here. I'm not seeing much just eyeballing it, but let's do it the scientific way, because after all, we're doing analytics, people. .06. So from a scale of 0 to 1, .06 is almost as low as you can score. Not a great correlation there. And really, it's effectively a 0 correlation. So let's plot them again real quick, just for the sake of plotting it. Changing the axis title here, or changing the axis label first, then changing the title. Do it 1 to 3 is fine. Axis title, YC per 90, and points earned. Barton's discipline problems. As you can see, there's a couple things going on here. One, there's virtually no slope. If you sort of eyeball the line, there's virtually no slope to the line. Two, there's no real pattern here. I mean, teams that have between 1.8 and 2 yellow cards per game could have 33 points. They could have 87 points. In this range, there's such a wide dispersion that the yellow cards per 90 is basically not predictive of the total points earned. Yellow cards don't matter. They're largely the same. The range here isn't that wide. Not much is going on. Red cards turn out to be predictive on individual games at least, but not in terms of total points earned. Yellow cards, again, a .06 correlation. That's about as uncorrelated as you'll ever find two variables. So, sorry, Joey. Even your yellow cards don't make much of a contribution to QPR's season. We'll head back to PowerPoint one final time. We'll wrap this video up, and I'll talk about the future a little bit. So yeah, as we said before, here's that same graph done in ggplot. Virtually no slope to that line. It's basically flat. Confidence interval is huge, and most of the points aren't even in the confidence interval. Yellow cards don't correlate with points, so be as ill-disciplined as you want. It doesn't matter. The final points I wanted to make here is that my math teacher, my 11th and 12th grade math teacher, Mr. Padovic, best teacher I ever had, by far. And he really taught me this one analogy, that math, analytics, stats, whatever you want to call it, are like building a house. You need a solid foundation, otherwise the whole thing comes crumbling down. Unfortunately, Mr. Padovic taught me this because the foundation of my house was fairly weak by the second year of calculus, and my house was in severe danger of crumbling down, but that's beside the point. Correlation is the foundation of everything you're going to do here. Everything we do going forward, from our next one of building an expected goals model, building prediction models, all of these things are building on correlation. Regression, machine learning, all of this stuff focuses very heavily on, are two variables related? And that's all that is. I want to keep saying all this is really, what do two variables have in common? When you see one variable, do you see another? You've had all these insights in the past. None of these insights from my last examples here were that particularly novel or complicated. I'm sure you've seen those as you've watched soccer before. But we're just putting a more formal logic to it, more technical words. So from this video, I want to make sure you understand the concepts of positive, negative, and zero correlation. Possession has a positive correlation. Long shots have a slight positive correlation. Close-in shots have a strong positive correlation. Block shots, negative correlation, strong. Yellow cards, zero correlation. Make sure you understand what all those things mean, not necessarily the specific examples, but the concepts themselves, because we're going to come back to them later. And everything you read, everything you do, everything you build comes from these concepts. That's all I have for today. Thank you all very much, and thanks to our guest questioners, Pep Guardiola, Philippe Coutinho, Tim Howard, Joey Barton. Thank you, Mango, for your special guest appearance in the back. This was a rather long video, but it's a really important one, so I wanted to really show you all what's going on here and really make sure you have correlation down pat. Like I did last time, I'm going to post an R appendix to these videos. Those of you who want to get into ggplot, I'll post the scripts. I will post the CSV files for any of you who want to do this either in Excel or in R, and the links will be in the description. Do me a huge favor. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Help me get these out. Really, tweet them, retweet me, tweet my videos. Whatever you can do, the more eyeballs I can get on these. We've been doing so great so far. We've had something like 400 people so far look at the first few videos. And that's, I mean, for such a short time and such an esoteric concept, I'm really impressed by how well he's doing. But I think we can do better. We're at 400. I want to get to 1,000. My goal is to get to 1,000, at which point then I'll change the goal to 2,500 or something like that. But I want to get these out there. So please, if you enjoy these, like, favorite, tweet. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all very much, and I'm looking forward to the next set of videos.